So, just to begin, uh, in our last class, that was the fourth class, today we are having our fifth class. In our last fourth class, we talked about block 3, that is mainly of social institution of marriage. So, in that, we discussed mainly marriage and family, the functions and purpose of marriage, choosing a life partner, that basically covers the criteria, what all criteria is required for the, choosing a life partner. Then we spoke on marriages in India, the different forms of marriages, and then among different religion groups, we discussed about how the marriages are taking place in Hindus, Christians, and Muslims mainly in these three. Then we also talked about society, culture, and religion and family values. There we discussed about types of different families, values formation in families. So this was what we had discussed in our last class. That was block 3 and we covered 3 units. So today we are going to start with our fourth unit. I'll just open the just a minute. It is not visible. You have to give me a minute. This uh, has not accepted. Just yeah. Uh, yeah. So this is our unit 4. 1 minute. No, it has not taken. Yeah. So it is unit 4, and we are going to talk about role expectations in marital life. So basically, this is the beginning. Yeah. We are beginning with role expectations in marital life. So we all know actually the essence of marriage is the interpersonal relationship between the spouses. Yeah. And as it says, there are many cultural and social expectations about appropriate behavior for males and females. So it talks about, well, this is something actually we all know, but it is a kind of how it has been, because from a sociological point of view, we have to study in detail on different aspects. So it says the marital roles. So what do we understand actually by marital roles? Marital roles are basically the behavioral expectations of husband and wives in particular society at any given point of time. You know, roles are cultural creation. Roles provides the facility for the smooth running of society by a division of labor for men and women. Then changes in gender role. Changes in gender role means again, see the in marriages we see the men are been given a different kind of a roles and women have a different kind of a role. So it is basically the change. What all changes we observe in the gender role, this is also expected in married life. Disparity in role conception. There is actually a wide disparity in role conceptions. Change, basically the changing nature of gender roles creates problems for all types of couples as they settle down to live together. This is again something what we observe. We probably see in our day-to-day family lives, in our families, with our parents, with our spouses, if any one of you are married. So this is something which we can observe. Then factors affecting changes in roles. So there are different factors like industrial revolution, emancipation of women, urbanization, employment of women, preoccupation of men with career, etc. These are some factors which have left their imprint upon family roles, because all these factors what we see in our changing, because we have studied social change and we have observed and learned about how the urbanization, modernization has impacted the family lives and especially the married. Now we will see, we will understand role of man. है ना? Role patterns for each sex are based on masculinity and femininity. Men and women are born with certain basic characteristics. Actually, we all know that we, as a human being, have our own kind of a characteristics. So this is what it is. This talks about unique male roles. So what are the unique male roles? In most cultures, strength and courage are still considered to be the qualities of men. You know, it is generally observed. Matlab, many of you in my class are also men, and it is generally every man has this kind of a feeling that he has more strength and courage. So this is what is being written over here. They are also independent, tough, and can control their emotions in better ways than women. Physical strength and social dominance are more functions for the male roles. Male is generally considered to be a provider and protector, you know, of the family. He is the master of the family. He is the bread earner and the head of the family. So, he acquires a job to support his wife and children. Then the leadership roles. you know, the man is generally considered to be a role model or a leader and supervisor of all family endeavors. For the child, his her first heroes will be his her own parents, and particularly the father, who holds the position of authority in the family. This is generally we have observed in India. This kind of a concept is very common. So, role as a husband, he has the role of sex partner, companion, confident, decision maker, and accountant. You know, generally, he must notice his wife and praise her performance and abilities. He should also give emotional support to her. You know, it is again expected from a man to give when the couple is residing together. So it is expected from men to provide all kind of not only physical support, mental support. Emotional support is something which is expected from male partner to provide to the female partner. Then role as a father. The father holds a dominant position in the family. In our culture, he is the chief authority in the home. Children need him for their all-round development. The good qualities from him. They expect a very good qualities from him. The qualities are sense of justice and fair play, steadfastness, inspiration to be useful. All these considered to be very useful. Then we now go to the role of woman. So, women in most cultures have been conditioned to carry out the reproductive functions. Yeah, this is a very important role which is being considered from a woman. You know, Traditional roles. The woman is biological, psychological, and emotionally prepared for motherhood. She is trained to carry out the role of birth, nurture, protection, gratification, and giving comfort to children, you know, and men. So this is expected from a woman. Look, she is oriented towards rearing capable children, helping her husband to achieve the goals of her family, and being useful to the community in which she lives. She wants to develop their special aptitude. So role as a wife. So role as a wife is again important. As a wife, she is expected to be affectionate, companion, good sex partner, confident, social secretary of her husband. She has to take charge of the social life of the couple. She should develop interest in her husband's work also. So these kind of roles are expected as a wife. Then as a homemaker, make a home a very beautiful, you know a beautiful kind of a place to live in. She has to take care of the basic needs of the family, such as nutrition, clothing, recreation, etc., everything. Then role as a mother. So she represents to her children the ideas and ideals of perfect womanhood, working in harmony with her husband. The child's first attachment is to his her mother. She is his her source of nourishment, warmth, and comfort. So, as a mother, it is very much expected from from the mother to provide all kind of a supportive environment to her children. So then it says now the changing roles of man and woman today. we all have been observing that there are changes in the role expectations and the roles are changing, you know. So sharing roles, you know, what are the reasons for role change? So sharing roles, uh, basically it says that, like, when a couple is married to each other, so it is expected to be equalitarian roles between husband and wife. Husband has to share the provider role with his wife. You know, he also has to give up his position as the custodian of family wealth, as the wife has come to share the spending. So he has to accept her equality in community affairs also. Then economic equality. See, a working wife plays a very important role in decision making. You know, last class also we were talking about certain things, certain roles about the women and what are the expectations of men and all. So this is what this is what it says here also. When the women are employed, there is a tendency for the couple to share power equally. Wives are less dependent upon their husbands. So, husband provide more emotional support to working wives. This is very important, you know. If both the spouses are working, so it is expected that the husband provides emotional support to working wives. Changes in the leadership role of a man, you know. So this is also being observed that with the time changing, this is expected that the leadership role, when the wife is working and economically settled, economically independent, so this leadership role of a man is also changing. You know what happens when fathers are reluctant to take up their responsibility? In such cases, children may develop certain behavioral problems such as anxiety, aggressiveness, and antagonism. So this is also, being observed. Then role expectations in different classes of society. So there are differences, in cases of lower class males and females, the traditional definitions of masculinity and femininity still persist. But in middle and upper class, the spouses have sharing the roles. They share. This is what is explained. What we had talked earlier also, that with time, with changes of time, with education of the women, so it is expected that both play equally important roles when they are living in a society. So what are the women expectations of man's role? So women expectations of man's role is again something important. Men are taking more interest in domestic tasks nowadays and in care of children also. They are still less gentle, less family oriented, and less domestically oriented than women. This is still, it's being observed in India also. You know, they have more efficiency, competence, and material success. So this is something what is being observed. So women still expect many of these traits in a man. Many women still want the male to be strong. At times, they want to depend upon males. Yeah, it is also a general kind of a observation. It is our society, it is our culture. Even women, whatever it is, but they still expect the male partner to be more stronger. Whenever she needs any kind of a help, so she can rely on him and she can depend on him. So, what do husband expects from the wife? The wife should become the companion of the husband. She is expected to give love and affection to him. He expects an equal sharing of responsibility. He expects cooperation, support, and credit for all his efforts. So, what are the factors? What are actually the factors influencing choices of marital role? This is again something important. Marriage roles differ from many other. 1 minute. Huh? Marriage roles differ from many other roles in everyday life. There are no definite general role patterns, but still, even couple has to work out a role pattern for themselves. There are many factors influencing the choice of marital roles. So, family. Customary roles are learned largely from the family. It is through the attitudes, expectations, and habit formed in the family that a boy or girl gets basic training in role expectation from him or her, as well as for the opposite sex. The peer group. The peer group is very important. Peer group is basically oriented towards new attitudes and expectations for both sexes. They create new role expectations. Then culture. See, in our culture, men have more freedom of action. Women are expected to behave according to the norms dictated by society. This is again important. Then, employment of women. This is role assigned by culture, not by nature. Today, women are bearing a double load of work. Employment gives economic independence to the woman, and she shares the financial burden of the family. Generally, it is observed that she is fatigued after the day's work and there are more emotional and physical strains for the working woman. She may neglect her duties at home and sometimes may even refuse sexual rights to her husband. So, this kind of things we generally observe in today's time. So, this is what is happening. You know. So it is also felt that she may face few problems like good health, willingness of the husband to share household duties, adequate pay, etc. These. Then next is uh, role conflict. See, now role conflict is something again important. Role conflict actually occurs when there are discrepancies in role expectation and the actual behavior of the couple. It also occurs when partners relate to each other in some new or different ways because of emotional changes. So, what are the reasons for role conflict? So, it is generally observed, that the couple they have to change their values, attitude, and behavior to fit in with the new role concept. In the case of women, living along with husband and other family members, the mother-in-law may criticize her. She may be forced to change in order to fit in with her mother-in-law's concept of an ideal wife. It is in India. This kind of a concept is very much common, where as we were talking about extended family kind of a system which is in existence in India nowadays, and it is expected that mother-in-law generally expects certain things from the daughter-in-law. So this kind of a role conflicts are taking place in today's time. So role conflicts are also brought about by the strain put upon the wife in meeting the role expectations of her husband and his family demands. Then money management is another area creating role conflicts. Money management is handling and spending of the family income. This kind of a money is also generally become a issue. you know it become a issue for observing a different kind of role conflict among the family. The failure in communication occurs at a deeper level of sharing feelings, expectations, intentions, and personal needs. So how can we resolve these conflicts? uh, or we can just skip this and we come to basically there is nothing much in that. Basically conflict management, how can we resolve conflict? It says that compatibility can be achieved when one partner is dominant and he she attempts to get the other person comply with his her desires, and the partner agrees and accepts the complementary role. you know they may emotionally withdraw from each other's relationship without finding out the actual solution for it. So that leads to different kind of issues. No, changes are to be made in the role of both partners. That is what is expected. Now, role changes in different phases of marriage. In marriage, you will find a variety of separate stages. Each stage requires new adjustments and re-evaluation of the old ones. The couple has to reorganize their ideas, values, and goals for the smooth running of their married life. So, This is actually the this is unit 4's last portion, and I will not go into it in detail. Basically, we can talk about it. It has many aspects. It talks about many areas where it is observed what kind of role changes uh, are happening due to different reasons. So early years of marriage. Earlier years of marriage, every day they have to take some decisions, some solve so some kind of a problems and make plan for the future. First year of marriage is one in which the husband and wife belong predominantly to each other. Expenses are low, health is usually good, and needs are simple. So the relationship between husband and wife take care of you, and it is not the company, thoughts, or the body of the partner that you take the whole of the other person. This is very important. Okay, you are saying I'm fast. Okay, actually, I thought this is something which we can comparatively go faster, but I'll go slow. If you request, I'll go slow on it. You know. So earlier years of marriage is something. It is just a beginning. This talks about how the that initially when the person gets married, it's only the couple, and there is no because once you get married at initial and especially the first year of marriage, in most of the cases there are no children and there are nobody else to take care of, generally in many cases. So the expenses are low and life is simple. So this is what it says about. Then relationship between husband and wife. So the relationship between husband and wife is, this is what here it says, that it is basically husband and wife. They have to consider the other partner as a whole of that person, whole in totality, the person, Then accepting each other. Husband and wife have to accept each other with all their shortcomings. This is again very important. They should maintain their individually personal worth and self-respect. Then communication. Communication is something again very important, because communication, the spouse should show the ability and willingness to communicate with each other. Communication is the breath of married life. If until we communicate with each other, we will not understand what the other person is feeling and how that other person is having any issues or any things to be talked about. So it is very much important. Even for our love expression, we need to communicate in our ways. We have to see how we can do that. Give and take. The couple should possess the ability to give and take. To give oneself to the other means to share one's most intimate feelings. It's not enough to love, to care, or to respect. The lover must affect, express her or him, his expressions. That affection is very important. Expression of affection is important. How one can communicate with each other. So give and take. Give and take is basically shows that it possesses the ability to give and take. Give oneself to the other means to share one's intimate feelings. It's very important that intimate feelings are to be shared with the partner. They should be cooperative and should be capable of emotional interdependence. Then personality factors in relation to role expectation. See, like every cell of the body is different, so also every feeling, every reaction, and every attitude of man and woman have particular characteristics according to one's sex. The respective nature of man and woman determines their roles in marriage. Success in marriage can be attained when the couple respect the characteristic qualities which nature has given to each of them when they adhere to their respective roles. So, it is something which is again the personality, how we behave, how we react, makes a difference in one's life. Personal habits. So, personal habits are again important. It is basically a basic personality pattern, basically the particular habits and attitude from the early childhood ones have, and each partner always brings to marriage enough differences in their attitude, punctuality, formality and informality in housekeeping and management of home, etc. So this is what, like, when if woman comes to the house of a man, so she comes with her own habits, what she has learned in her childhood. So that also makes a difference. Then sexual relations. So it is expected that once you get married, that they are having a sexual relationship with each other. So it is a physical foundation of marital relationship that is considered very important. So there one can be emotional, mental, and social adjustments are concerned in that. Sexual adjustment in marriage is again important because sexual satisfaction of the individual is important. Cultural factors are also equally important. Sexual attitudes and expectations are learned by individual from his her early childhood, from his her own family or his peers. So knowledge of sexual anatomy and appropriate sexual activities are also necessary for good adjustments. So this is something that really helps, that one learns from his family, because sometimes even, when any individual, when the child, when he slowly becomes an adult and when he gets married, so what all is there in his mind about the sexual relationship, what he has learned from his family members, his parents, siblings, or adults, or peers, so all that makes a difference. So sexual maladjustment in marriage, so unfavorable attitudes towards sex, ignorance about sex and sexuality, lack of proper sex education, unfavorable sexual experiences of early years of life, unrealistic expectations about sex in marriage, and the unwillingness to be open with one's partner, etc., are some of the sexual maladjustment things. So, psychosexual development influences an individual's sex life. That makes a difference. Confusion about sex and false attitude towards sex. This is again important in Indian society. Discussion of sex continue to be a taboo. In India, generally people do not talk about sex. That is considered as a taboo. No, nobody feels comfortable to talk on this issue, so that is there. So, role of man and woman in sexual adjustment depends upon the attitudes and expectations each person brings into marriage. Then relations with in-laws. This is again a problem in Indian society. This is very common. The relationship with in-laws may bring about problems in some marriages. The interference by in-laws, the elders at home, then interference of mothers. Usually it is the mother-in-law, if the couple where the wife comes and stays with the husband's family, so mother-in-law generally is more dominant and more involved. There are different kind of problems being observed even to raise the children. So all those kind of troubles are observed. Husbands were her mother interferes more often. It is observed generally the mother, husband's mother interferes more. Other in-laws, if there may be sister-in-law, brother-in-law, there are other unmarried people in the home, so they also at times create problems uh, in uh, in marriage. So why do parents interfere? Sometimes it is also a question, why husband's mother interfere, then why do the parents interfere? So parents at times they really interfere, you know so the it could be due to different reasons and different thinks about it. Then you have positive contribution of in-laws. So at times it can help if they are positive, if the in-laws behavior is positive, that can really help for the couple's married life. Cultural factors affecting role change. So cultural factors affecting role change. This is again something. Role expectations vary with different cultures. Culture conditions the personality of an individual. Marital roles are determined the culture in which one grows up. Couple coming from two different cultures will behave differently in a given situation. They will be having different expectations and their goals and marriage will be very different. Few common interests they may have, but generally their attitude, customs, styles of living differ. So they really need to adjust. Then religion, even the religion is something. Uh, Religion is something that is important. If there is a marriage between the girl and the boy from a different religion, so there are chances of differences because they have learned probably different values systems from the marriage. So there may be a various areas of adjustments in that. Importance of early years. It again makes a difference. How during the early years of the couple has to make all the above adjustments. It is each partner must learn how far he she can take the mate in different areas and which are the things he she must avoid. Couple may be able to make adjustments successfully in the early years. But as the marital life is a continuous process, with aging and maturity, there are different changes that takes place. Those changes with the arrival of children. When there are children in the family, so the role changes. So life along with the offsprings, if there are other offsprings in the family, the life makes a difference. Then, it is parental role. The parental role has brings personal, social, and economic privations, economic problems. So there are like different kind of with the parental role. You see the economic dependency. There are you need to have more income. So there are issues related to that. Personal difficulties. You know, then there are at different phases in the life there are different kind of problems one faces. Social participation, even if you are married you have to see the social responsibilities attached to it. you know Feeling of uselessness at times. It happens in one's life, you feel useless, and you are not able to provide what is expected from your role. You somehow feel there are some difficulties. Adjustment within laws, we have read earlier. Also role of grandparents. So grandparents are at times play a very important role for children. So they have to see how and what all they can do with the children. So this is again important. Then it says there are some formal roles, surrogate parent roles, fun seeker roles, role changes in old age. With old age, when you are like after you have done your jobs and all, and you are leading a retired life, so the life is different. And with old age, there are more uh, old age problem and health issues come up, and then you need to have somebody at home to care for you. So all these kind of things have been observed. Effects of retirement have on the family life, whether you have a income after the retirement to run your home, and whether there are your children who will take care of you, or they will send you to the old age home. So all these kind of things have to be observed in this. So this is what is basically, there are too many aspects that we have just read, that role changes in different phases of marriage. Then how at different phases in life the role changes. With this we have completed with our fourth unit, marital life and role expectations. So anyone has any questions we can take up now, otherwise we will now go to our block 4. If I will now start with the new PPT, just give me a minute. Hmm?
Oh, I have a
Yes,
question.
yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, you made mention of the effect of employment of women. How does that
Mhm.
implicate?
See, that is something very basic actually. You know, like a woman is supposed to do generally in India. This is a concept. I don't know much about your countries how it is, but it is expected from a woman in Indian society and Indian culture is like that, where woman takes. When I was reading also today's. Matter when I was talking to you. It is expected from a woman to do all kind of household chores. A woman is the one who gives birth to the child, you know, and woman is going out for work. And if woman is out for work for 8 9 hours, and when she comes back home, and if she has to do all household chores from cleaning the house, utensil washing, cloth washing, ready, you know, caring for the children at times, if the child is newborn and mother may have taken or received a 3 months or 6 months maternity leave, and after that, if she joins back, so if she's working, she expects from her partner to give her complete support to raise the children. This is something what is being observed nowadays when the woman is working. So it is expected that the spouse, that husband also plays an important role in the life. He helps the woman to raise children. At times, I have seen in many family, especially the educated class, when both men and women are working, nights like mostly it is observed if the child is small, especially under 3 years of age. Children do not have a right pattern of sleeping in the night. At times, at night, they may get up two, three, four times, and the person who's with the child sleeping may not even be able to get the sound sleep. So sometimes in some families they make it a kind of a husband and wife in a couple. They make it a routine that for first few hours, for the 3 hours, it is your responsibility to care for the child. I'll sleep, and the next 3 hours I'll be awake and you sleep, so that both of us are able to perform our duties and get some rest to be ready to go to the work next day. So it depends. So there are ways how to go about it. So all that one learns when one lives in a family life. So this is what it is. Anything else, or is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I understood, ma. It's okay.
Okay, yeah. So now, give me a minute. I'll start. I have to open the new thing, PPT. So, our fourth unit is basically social problems and services. So today we will, as I said earlier, that every day we are taking up 3 units, and the last day, that is tomorrow. Tomorrow we will left with 2 units, and then I will talk about the assignments which you people are supposed to do. So that is what I thought of, and that is how I am trying to do. So today we will now, from this new blog, that is your last blog, blog 4, we are starting with, this is the block name is social problems and services, and the first unit is social problem in Indian context. types of social problems and approaches to the study of social problem. This is what we are going to study today. So, you know, mm, yeah. So, definition and characteristics of social problem. So, many scholars have tried to define social problem, but it is difficult to arrive at a commonly accepted definition. According to Fuller and Myers, a social problem is a condition which is defined by a considerate number of persons as a deviation from some social norms which they cherish. As per Carr, a social problem exists whenever we become conscious of a difficulty, a gap between our preferences and the reality. This is how it is. It has been explained by different authors, different sociologists in a different way. Now, see, with the characteristics, if we understand the characteristics of social problem, we probably will be able to understand what exactly is social problem in more detail. So, all social problems are situations, that have harmful consequences for the societies. Then all social problems are deviation from the ideal situation. You know, social problems are caused by many factors. It is when we are going to now in future we will study different factors. So we will talk about it. Social problems are caused by many factors. All these factors are social in origin, they are interrelated. Social problems also affect every individual of the society. Social problems affect different individuals differently. you know so this is what the characteristic says. And now social problems we will understand as per the Indian context. you know so the major social problems in early phases of Indian civilization were increasing rigidity of social hierarchy, continuous conflicts between the Aryans and Dasas, emphasis on the observance of rituals, sacrifice of animals, etc. With the advent of the Muslim rule in India, new social problems like sati, parda, introduction of caste system among the Muslims, etc. emerged. In the contemporary phase, India is facing several social problems. We have the problem of terrorism, violence, offences against women, children, and minorities, unemployment, poverty, drug addiction, communalism, youth unrest, corruption, migration and displacement, environmental degradation, population explosion, prostitution, HIV/AIDS, etc. We are going to study about most of these problems in details in our next session, some today and some maybe tomorrow. So these problems are the result of various factors that include economic, political, legal, cultural, as well as historical. Now it says about types of social problems. So what are the different, you know, types of social problems what we see in our day-to-day life? So broadly, social problems can be divided into two types: social problems at the individual problem level or social problems at the collective level. But in other way, it has been divided into the different types as follows. Basically, it says social problems due to social factors. It is observed that conflict among different religion groups has given rise to the problem of communalism. In India, Hindu Muslim conflict has been a major problem. We have also seen conflict between Hindus and Sikhs, between Hindus and Christians. Similarly, the caste system in India has divided the society into various groups. So this is basically the social issue that has created different kind of problems, social problems. So then it says social problems due to cultural factors. Cultural factors, what it says, that several cultural factors have been responsible for a number of social problems. You know, In a traditional society like India, some of the cultural factors that lead to social problems are male child preference. As the other day, also in my class, I was talking about that many times in India, women are not treated well if she only gives birth to female children. So, male child preference is something which is very, very important in India. In India, people are for male. They want to have a male child, in the family. Then patriarchal system, then lack of regard for public property. So lack of respect for public property. These are the issues which has lead to different kind of social problems, and it says that it lead to corruption, black money, tax evasion, misappropriation of public goods. These kind of things are noticed. Then, social problems due to economic factors. So, unequal distribution of wealth has led to disparity in the distribution of benefits occurring due to development. Sometimes we can notice that due to this, we can see the problem of poverty. Poverty in turn aggravates other problems like high morbidity, mortality, crime, slum, illiteracy. So, all these problems are linked with our poverty. Further, the process of urbanization and industrialization in India has been very slow, and this has also led in different kind of economic problems. So then we see, so there are problems due to political and legal factors. So Uh, it is seen that major social problems include electoral politics, political functioning, corruption, etc. People who win and come to power. So, political parties do not shy away from using communal or parochial modes of mobilization like caste, religion, and language. Sometimes that is observed that they make use, they make use of different religion or the language to rule their party and to somehow get benefit to run the show. So it is also observed that leaders are found indulging in nepotism and red tapeism. They are also seen accepting money in return of some favor. This is there in politicians that if they want to, believe in this kind of a nepotism, and they may, though they are helping their known people and some, but they still expect some time of a money. If somebody says that they will put him in some job and they will give him some favor for him to help him to get a job, he may expect some money to give him that favor. So those kind of problems, political and legal factors are involved. Then next is ecological factors. So ecological factors, this is the thing. It's the last. It says that rapid industrialization had led to increase in environmental pollution that include air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, degradation and desertification of the land. This in turn has led to increased morbidity and mortality. Emer- Emergence of new types of diseases, global warming, ozone depletion, floods, etc. All this has led to these kind of social problems. So this is something what we can observe, that these are the different kind of factors that lead to social problems. you know Now this is, here is approaches to study of social problem. So there is a question tomorrow when we will talk, there is a question on this approaches to study the social problems. You have one question also in your assignment. What are the different approaches to study social problems? you know So here it has explained there are three kind of approaches. One is a functional approach. So in functional approach, it says this approach views the society as a system. A system is a set of interconnected parts that together form a whole. different parts, there are different parts in our society, and this when they are together, they form a whole. The basic unit of analysis is society. Its parts are understood in terms of their relationship to the whole. Thus, social institutions like family, religion, marriage, and education, healthcare, economy, politics. This is not here, but I'm just saying all these are the social institutions are the part that constitute the whole, that is the society. So, functionalism emphasizes the importance of social institutions for social stability and implies that for reaching social change will be socially harmful. So, functionalists see such social institution only as a part of the society and not as an isolated unit. From the functionalist perspective, a social problem is the failure of some part of society that interferes with society's smooth functioning. So, this is what is important. In this, here, there is one example given. It says here it says that, according to Merton, the study of social problem requires a focus on the dysfunctions of patterns of behavior, belief, and organization in the society. You know, for example, shift from joint family to nuclear family as a result of industrialization and urbanization is dysfunctional for the care of elderly population. As a result, you know, as a result, care for the people in the old age has become a social problem. This is what we were talking now. That with age, when the people, when anybody grows older, when it comes to old age, so there are different kind of old age problems links with that, and people are leaving the old age parents to the old age homes, and they are living, and there are different problems related to that. There is another example that has been explained, that a large dam may be functional for the people who get benefit from it, but is dysfunctional for those who get displaced by it. If there is any dam made anywhere for certain reasons, for some kind of a benefit to for a certain part, people living in that society, it may be good for some people, but the others who were already residing there and have to shift from that place to another place, so it is not, you know, it is not. Beneficial for them. So, this is an example that has been given and to explain this functional approach. So, society actually develops certain codes of norms and values to maintain equilibrium between the different parts. However, at times, certain circumstances are generated which infringe such social codes. This causes social problems like communalism. So he focused on like the people who are living in society, the social institutions, what I have talked about, that health, marriage, education, family, political issues, economy, all these are social institutions. So all these social institutions in one or the other way can create social problems, and this can even lead to communalism. So this is a functional approach. Then second is Marxist approach. So Marxist approach is Marxist actually believes the society can be divided into two classes. One is ruling class and the other is ruled class. Ruling class is generally a minority but exploits the ruled class who's a majority. For example, in feudal society, lords exploit serfs. In capitalist society, capitalists exploit their workers. This leads to fundamental conflict of interest between these two classes. One gains at the expense of the other. So these societies contain some basic contradiction. So according to Marx, now see these are the things. The capitalist society, the problems faced by the capitalist societies are exploitation of a man by a man, alienation, inequality, and poverty. So he talked on these four things. Then the third is Gandhian approach. So Gandhian approach, so Gandhi gave an altogether different perspective to the understanding of the social problems. His views on social problems are contained in his idea of Sarvodaya and Swaraj. Gandhi's views basically are based on the value of truth and non-violence. Gandhi, you all must have heard the name of Mahatma Gandhi, in our Indian thing. So basically he talks about non-violence and truth. So Gandhi regarded society to be a unified organization. Thus, he was not in agreement with Marxists. He didn't believe in this capitalist kind of a society. So according to Gandhi, though the interest of different classes may clash, the fact of conflict of interest does not assume primacy over the unity of community. The main social problems he had specially worked are poverty, unemployment, violence between individuals, groups, and nations, disunity and frictions between social groups, education, sanitation, you know, public health, and nutrition. So, this is how it is. So, he basically talked on a different way of that different approach. So it says here that the revolution that Gandhi approach opposes the theory of violent revolution and coercive change. The revolution has to be gradual process and should be brought about by awakening of masses. Thus, a program of social, economic, cultural, and political awakening of the masses has to be undertaken to overcome the social problems. You know, so Gandhi was opposed to the introduction of vast economic, social, and cultural changes through legislation. Society must change itself gradually by its own initiative and efforts. The legislation may facilitate the changes when society itself is moving in the same directions. The changes should never be imposed on the society. When you all anytime plan to have any changes in the society, so according to Gandhi, you know the it is something, the changes are not supposed to be imposed on the people living in the society. It has to come from within the people who are living there. Legislation is again something, one needs to have the legislation to run a proper smooth society, when every individual performs its functions as per the requirement, but it is for the betterment of the people living in the society. So this is the first unit. We are now turning to the. I think this is what is there in the first unit. Any questions you want to ask? No, no questions. Okay. If there are no questions, so now as we have read about the social problems, so now in detail we will study the different social problems in our society. So it starts with the first thing, it starts with the problem of HIV/AIDS. So, when I was reading about South African countries, in out of your 10 countries, in most of the countries I have seen this HIV/AIDS problem is there. Many people are affected due to this problem. So we really need how and what we all can do in this. So AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, is a disease which is caused by a virus called human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. You know, AIDS is the last stage of infection in the virus. It takes about 8 to 10 years between getting infected with HIV and developing AIDS. So, no vaccine has been invented till today as a cure for AIDS or for protecting people from HIV. This is something we all are facing, in today's world. In your book, you will see the material what you have received. It says about, like, in the word it talks UNAIDS. It says around 36.7 million people affected in the world with HIV. This data is of 2016. Then it says it is estimated that there were around 1.8 million new HIV infections and 1 million deaths due to AIDS. So, 1 million deaths are happening due to AIDS. So, this is again an alarming figure. You know, among the new infections, 2.1 million were children under 15 years. This is something which is really need to be looked into. That children are affected. Children under 15 years are affected. So this is again, the governments of our countries have to look into this aspect. That is dangerous. So anti-HIV antibodies were first detected among sex workers in Chennai, South India in 1986. It has informed here. In India, National AIDS Control Program by the National AIDS Control Organization is implemented by Government of India as centrally sponsored scheme through state AIDS control societies in the states. So that is what has been explained here. Then, high risk groups and routes of transmitting the virus. We all know HIV spreads mainly through four routes. It has given the four routes. First, unprotected sex with an infected partner, heterosexual as well as homosexual. The sex could be with between the opposite sex or the same sex, wherever whosoever is indulging sex with the partner who is infected can easily catch the infection. Then transfusion of blood and blood products infected with HIV. It is always to be noted, everybody needs to be very care of that when anybody getting blood from the other person, that person should not be affected. This needs to be looked into basically by the doctors, they have to be careful about this. Then injecting drugs with infected syringes or needles. Again, this is important if somebody who's already affected by HIV and that syringe or that needle is used for the other person, that person will easily be infected. Then transmission from infected mother to her unborn child. This is something which is generally felt that if a mother who's carrying a baby is infected by HIV, there is a chance, there are chances that the child who's born to that mother will also be infected by AIDS. So basically, AIDS is not just a health problem, it is a problem with important social, cultural, and economic implication. Yes, if anybody is infected by HIV, that can lead to all kind of different social, that lead to different implications. So this basically, it talks about that voluntary organization can provide information, services, and other social support system to people in danger of contracting the disease. In India, also there are very few NGOs who are working for the HIV patients, but only the government hospitals have to provide this kind of a service. But if there are NGOs who come out for caring for these people, that will be a great help. I don't know how it is in your country, so uh, This is something which really need to looked into. And now the second thing is the second social problem what we are going to talk now is environmental degradation. So environmental degradation here it says can be broadly divided into two categories: extreme events and hazards. The events are caused either by natural processes or man made, which brings immediate changes in the environment and inflict damage and loss to the environment in which we live. It is then further divided into following, you know, natural hazards caused by natural factors. That is, it says territorial that occurs on the land surface caused by endogenic factors, example, volcanic eruption, earthquake, submergencies, etc. Atmospheres, like when you have cyclones or atmospheric lightning, then cumulative atmospheric, they are caused due to accumulation of effect of certain atmospheric phenomena for several years in continuation, example floods, droughts, etc. Second is man-induced hazard. So man-induced hazards, which are these physical hazards like landslides, forest fires, then chemical hazards, release of toxic gases, nuclear explosions, then biological hazards. Biological means increase or decrease in the population of a species, explosion of human population. So these are man-made induced hazards. Third is, so first is natural hazard, third is man-induced hazard, now the third is biological hazards. This is not caused by a man. Example, locust swarms, epidemics, pollution, deterioration of environmental quality beyond a critical limit caused by human activities. You know, land pollution could be soil erosion, desertification, you know, second is water pollution. It is pollution of seawater, pollution of rivers, pollution of groundwater. Third is air pollution, depletion of ozone layer, concentration of greenhouses gases, suspended particles. So these are the three main hazards in which we understand environmental degradation. Here it says, you know, now we are going to study what are the some of the important factors that causes environmental degradations. So first is deforestation. So deforestation is accelerate soil erosion, increase sediments in the rivers, siltation of reservoirs, increase in the frequency of drought and floods, etc. Then agricultural development, increase in agriculture all and large scale deforestation. You know? So the need for increase in the productivity of agricultural land and thus intensive cultivation through application of insecticides, pesticides, fertilization, irrigation, etc. has led to problem like contamination of soils, है ना? Salination of soils, pollution and depletion of groundwater, etc. Then you have population growth. So population growth we all know can lead to this kind of a problem. Industrial development. Industrial development, though it has given rise to economic prosperity, it resulted in environmental degradation through undesirable outcomes such as industrial wastes. You know, when we talk about industrial development, we understand industrial waste, polluted water, toxic gases, ashes, sacrification of land through mining, etc. Fine. Then increased urbanization. This is again something which has a meaning. Increased urbanization means phenomenal increase in the concentration of human population in limited space. You know, in the like if the people who are living in the rural areas, if they plan and come to the urban places, so urban places also have a fixed kind of a land. But if they are meant to care for the 100 people and around 150, 50 people migrant and come to that place, so it has to care for extra many people. So this is just an example. So this can lead to many environmental degradation issues. Then modern technologies are more destructive than the earlier ones. They aim at accelerate rate of exploitation of natural resources. So many natural resources are you know accelerated due to this problem. Then conservation measures. The most important factor which causes environmental degradation is growth of population. You know, this is again we have studied in many of our classes, and we all know this fact. So one of the important steps to check environmental degradation would be to check the population growth. Yeah, in India, as you all know, that we are number one in population, but anyway, so it has due to this we know matlab, as I'm talking to you, and I know that there are different problems what we are facing, and it has a direct link with the population explosion of India. you know it leads to, whether it leads to water, whether it leads to education, whether it leads to healthy food, everything has a effect due to this population growth. So then development of pollution-free technologies are needed, reduction in the exploitation of natural resources are needed. We need to educate people about environment, stop the use of nuclear weapons. So there are certain aspects which have been explained here about it. Now next is uh, it is basically communalism. So, communalism, what is communalism? What do we understand by communalism? It is basically a concept of communalism is an ideology which states that society is divided into religious communities whose interest differs and are at times even opposed to each other. The antagonism practiced by the people of one community against the people of other community and religion can be termed as communalism. You know, so this basically antagonism goes to the extent of falsely accusing, harming, and deliberately insulting a particular community and may extend to looting, burning down the homes and shops of the helpless and the weak, you know, dishonoring women and even homicide. So all these are the factors to that. It says Jawaharlal Nehru once described communalism as the Indian version of fascism. He said, while all communalism is bad, we must remember that minority communalism is born out of fear, while majority communalism takes the form of political reaction to assert dominance. You know, according to him, the main forces which have encouraged the growth of communalism in India are economic backwardness of Muslims, growth of communal parties and organization, electoral compulsions of political parties, you know, communal media, literature, and textbooks, separatism and isolation among Muslims. Then it talks about anatomy of communal Anatomy of communal rights. So it says a probe into the major communal rights in the country during the last 5 decades reveal communal rights are more political motivated, you know, than fueled by religion. Besides, political interest, economic interest also play a vital role in fomenting communal clashes. The probability of recurrence, of communal riots in a town where communal riots have already taken place once or twice is stronger than in a town when such riots have never occurred. Most communal riots take place on the occasion of religious festivals. The use of deadly weapons in the riots is on ascendancy. You know, then it says how we can, there are different measures to deal with communalism. Measures to deal with the challenge of communism and communal violence can be of two types, long term and short term. So the long term measures are in initiating the process of decommunalism, the people at all levels say by bringing home to them that communal assumptions are false, by explaining to them the socio-economic and political roots of communalism. Second, communalization of the state and of the political elite has to be checked because it leads to inaction against communal violence and covert or overt political and ideological support to communalism by the state apparatus. Third, the communalization of civil society also needs to be checked because it leads to riots that are more communal. People with communal ideas and ideologies pressurize the government to act in a manner which is always against the principle of secularism. Role of education, particularly emphasizing on value-oriented education both in schools and colleges, is important in preventing communal feelings. Media can also prove to be significant in preventing communal feeling. You know, so these are a few long-term measures. Then short-term measures. What are the short-term measures? Peace committees can be set up in which individuals belonging to different religious communities can work together to spread goodwill and fellow feelings and remove feelings of fear and hatred, in the riot affected area. And state has to plan and use new strategies in dealing with communal violence. Whenever strong and secular administrators have used or threatened the use of strong steps, riots either did not occur or were of short duration. So role of media is immensely highlighted during the course of communal violence, And lastly, the government in power has to treat the extremist communal outfits as its immediate target and cripple their capacity to disrupt law and order. The you know this is how it says about the communalism. Now, now we will talk about youth unrest. What do we understand by youth unrest? So youth unrest basically it is a term, it's a term. This is defined as manifestation of collective frustration of the youth in the society. It is manifested when the existing norms in the society are perceived by the youth as ineffective or harmful to the extent that they feel so disillusioned and disgusted about them and recognize the need for changing these norms. What are the characteristics of youth unrest? We have to understand that youth unrest has some characteristics. That is collective discontent. Then dysfunctional conditions, then public concern and need for change in the existing norm. So, youth agitation. So, youth agitation, what do we understand by youth agitation? It is actually a behavior of the youth whose goal is social protest. You know, when the youth decided to make any kind of a protest, it is known as social protest. Its aim is neither to injure a person nor cause destruction of public property. Various forms, you know, there are different forms of youth agitation that are demonstrations, slogans, shoutings, strikes, hunger strikes, roadblocks, ghaus, boycotts of examination. The precondition of youth agitations are structural strains. You know, they are identifying the sources of strain, precipitating factors in initiative action, mobilization of force for action by a leader. The important functions of youth agitation. What are the important functions? Why are youth agitations? You know, to create collective consciousness and group solidarity. To organize the youth to work for new programs and new plans, and to provide opportunities to young individuals to express their feelings and make some impact on the course of social change. You know, so there are certain process of growth of agitation due to youth unrest. What are the reasons? You know, many youth agitations follow a life cycle which comprises the following stages. The discontent stage, which is the stage of dissatisfaction and growing confusion with the existing condition. Initiation stage. It is a leader emerges, the cause of discontent are identified, excitement increases, and proposals for actions are debated. Formalization stage, in which programs are developed, alliances are forged, and support is sought from outside actors. Public support stage, in which youth trouble is transferred into public trouble. So this is then causes of youth unrest and agitation. What are the causes? You know, why the youth unrest kind of a situation occurs? It says there is a committee, UGC committee, you know, of 1960 pointed out the following reasons for student agitation. Economic causes like demand for reducing fees, increasing scholarships, demand for changes in existing norms pertaining to admissions, examinations, and teachings. You know, poor functioning of college universities with non-purchase of chemicals and instruments for laboratories or books and journals for libraries. Conflicting relationship between students and teachers. Inadequate facilities in the campus like inadequate hostel accommodation, poor food in hostels, lack of canteens, poor drinking water, leaders being instigated by politicians. So these causes maybe I don't know. These are very common causes in Indian setting. I hope maybe the similar kind of causes may exist in your country when youth decided to have any kind of a situation where they want to have any demonstration or any kind of agitation takes place. So these major causes I think exist everywhere. Next we have corruption. You know, corruption, we all understand what corruption is. Corruption, in simple terms, may be described as an act of bribery. It has also been described as the use of public power for private gains in a way that constitute a breach of law or deviation from the norms of society. Corruption is present in society in several forms, you know, that we can see. Bribery, money offered in cash or kind or gift as inducement to procure illegal or dishonest action in favor of the giver. Nepotism, you know, we studied earlier also. So there are what are the causes of corruption? A number of factors have been pointed out as causing corruption, like the emergence of political elite who believe in interest oriented rather than national oriented programs and policies. It is generally seen, na? And then recent scandals have been in the area where either purchase policies or prices are controlled by government. Then corruption is caused by scarcity of goods. Corruption is caused as well as increased because of the change in the value systems and ethics of men who administer. Corruption can be traced to ineffective administration, lack of vigilance, enormous power to the bureaucracy, lack of accountability, defective information system, etc. So these are mainly the causes of corruption. What are the impacts of corruption? It is important for us to recognize that corruption has affected our society in several ways. It has retarded economic development of the country. It has created violence and lawlessness in the society since the corrupts have the money, power to influence the executor of law to serve him. It has resulted in deterioration of morals and destroys the individual character. It has increased inefficiency, nepotism, and lethargy, and has created indiscipline in all fields of administration. It has increased black money in the country. It has led to the adulteration of eatables, spurious drugs, and shortages of many consumer items. So, legislations. We have a legislation. Prevention of Corruption Act came into force in September 88. In India, this act is there. It consolidated the provision of Prevention of Corruption Act 1947. So some sections of it states about what are the sections, the acts which are there in existence in India. So measures taken to contain corruption. The government of India appointed a committee on prevention of corruption in 1960. The central government has set up the following four departments as anti-corruption measures. While like one very important is Administrative Vigilance Division in the Department of Personnel and Training. Then Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI). So if you have seen some Hindi movies or somewhere you must have heard about this term CBI. Central Bureau of Investigation. Then domestic vigilance units in the ministry, departments, public undertaking, nationalized banks, etc. Then Central Vigilance Commission. So these are basically the few important measures that have been taken by Indian government for corruption, to control corruption. Now there is one more unit under this. We are going to study about migration and displacement. So according to basically Demographic Dictionary, migration is a form of geographical mobility or spatial mobility between one geographical unit and another, generally involving a change in residence from the place of origin or place of departure to the place of destination or place of arrival. So there are actually forms of migration. So internal migration refers to migration from one place to another within a country, you know, while external migration or international migration refers to migration from one country to another. In India, the migrants are classified into four streams, namely rural to rural, rural to urban, urban to urban, and urban to rural. So, so then this is what it says about migration, and we have studied in earlier classes also about migration, how it is affecting, how it has affecting in the social change in our society, and it has led to different kind of social problems. So, important characteristic in the age selectivity of the migrants. Most migrant studies have found that rural urban migrants are predominantly young adults and relatively better educated than those who remain at their place of origin. This is generally a phenomena. Even in rural areas, we find that people who migrate from rural areas to urban areas are those who are kind of more educated and get some good education, and then they try to go to a place where they can find employment as per their level of education. So reasons of migration when we see, so economic reason, as we all know that major reason for voluntary migration is economic. In most of the developing countries, low agricultural income, agricultural unemployment, underemployment are the major factors pushing the migrants towards the areas with greater job opportunities, as I just said. So there are push factors. So push factor is an ILO study reveals that the main push factors causing the workers to leave agriculture is the lower level of income. This is there in India, maybe in Nigeria, in your South African countries also it may be there. That I am not very sure of, but it is there. The income level of the people who are working in the agricultural level, agriculture is very low. They are not really able to earn very well. So that is a major reason. You know, the non-availability of alternative sources of income in the rural area is another factor for migration. Pull factor. Pull factor is referred to those factors which attract the migrants to an area, such as opportunities for better employment, higher wages, better working conditions, and better amenities of life. This is again the people are feel to come to the urban areas where they feel there are more facilities and they will be able to. There are more markets, more malls, and different kind of facilities are there, and we may be able to earn and have a good family life. So now it says that push back factors. We have studied about push factors and push pull factors, and now it says in India, another impact of factors which plays a crucial role on migration is a push back factor. You know, the urban labor force is sizable and the urban unemployment rates are high. So there also exist pools of underemployment persons. All these factors act in combination as deterrent to the fresh flow of migrants from the rural to urban areas. This is a current scenario where this is also observed, and especially after this COVID, you know, many people have gone back to their origin place of stay due to mainly due to this COVID, that there is less employment opportunity in the urban areas, so they are going back to their rural places. So this is again a kind of a impacted important factor. Then socio-cultural and political factors. So, push and pull factors, social and cultural factors also play an important role in migration. Improved communication facilities such as transportation, impact of radio and television, cinema, urban oriented education, and resultant change in attitudes and values promote migration. Sometimes family conflicts also cause migration. This is again when we talk about socio cultural and political factors. So this has something to do with our family background where there are conflicts due to one or the other reason that lead to migration. So consequences of migration. So what are the important, consequences of migration? Economic migration from a region characterized by labor surplus helps to increase the average productivity of labor in that region. So there is a there is a possibility that migration would widely widen the development disparity between the regions, in view of the drain of the resourceful persons from the relatively underdeveloped region to the more developed region. However, the labor sending region may gain economically by the money brought by the immigrants. Then demographic factors. See, migration has a direct impact on age, sex, and occupational composition of the sending and receiving regions. You know, so migration of the unmarried males of young working age results in imbalance in sex ratio. This tends to reduce the birth rate in rural areas. Third is social and psychological. So, urban life usually brings about certain social changes in the migrants. Those migrants who return occasionally or remain in direct contact with the household of their origin are also like to transmit some new ideas back to their area of origin. So, this is what is being observed in our thing. So, this is what I have to talk to you people about the first two units of our social problems and services block. Tomorrow, we will study some other problems that will be probably more simpler and maybe easier to relate with. Today, I feel I don't know how many of you could really relate well, but still, if there are any questions or anything which we can talk about for another 10 minutes, we can. If there are any questions, we can talk about it. Or we can talk in general, in anything in general, anybody wants to ask related to social work, any questions you have in mind, we can informally talk for another 5-10 minutes. At least on Monday there were questions. One or the other person you were asking me questions, and I somehow liked it. But today's class is such there are no questions. So I wonder whether you people are listening or is it really very boring. But it is a part of the course, part of the syllabus, which I have to tell you people. You need to study when you are doing this course. So this portion you have to study. Anyone? Tell me something about your place, about the social problems what we were discussing today. Anything, anyone has any comments to make?
Well, but then today's class, I seems like we understood. But I think about the social problems concerning here in Nigeria, I think in Nigeria we are experiencing a lot of problems.
Hmm.
For example, now you make mention of the
HIV,
causes of
AIDS,
corruption. You make mention the
corruption.
cause of, yeah, the cause of corruption in the society. So I want to have more light on that. Although corruption is a rundown in every society, but why is it can I say most of the African countries
Mm-hmm.
are corrupt? I don't know. Is it our attitude that make us corrupt, or is the society that make us corrupt?
See, as when we were talking about corruption, we talked about the causes of corruption. When we were talking about the causes of corruption, see, the causes of corruptions are such, like basically the people. There are not many opportunities for jobs. There are not many opportunities to get proper food, the three times meals properly. The places, the housing facilities are not given. There are the when we lack the basic facility that lead to corruption. And especially it is because of unemployment. You want to have a good employment and you are not getting opportunities, so you may choose a route where you probably bribe the other person to get into a job. This is something which is very much in India. In India, the corruption is there. Too much of people who are corrupted. Even to find a government job, especially in India. From last few years, there is no regular job employment for people. The everybody is employed. Employment is given on contractual basis. No regular job employment opportunities are being given. So, if there is even for contractual job, that is mostly for 1 year, at certain places it may be for 3 years, or it is mostly it is either 1 year or 1 to 3 years time, or maybe at very rare some places for 5 years. So the your contractual job is only for that long. Even to get that kind of a contract, people are paying money in lakhs. The money, the maybe monthly income maybe 40-50 thousand a month as per Indian rupee. But people are still willing to pay, a bribe of 1 lakh, 2 lakh to get that job. That they say maybe if I am able to earn 6 lakhs a year, I don't mind giving 1 lakh as a bribe because I really need to raise my family. I need to take care of my family. So that kind of corruption is still there in India. People are corrupt, but there is no, actually I just shared with you that there are CBI, there are different kind of committees that have been made by government to control corruption. But end of the day, when we see the reality, there are people still find ways how they can be corrupt. And this is something that not only seen in the middle class or lower income group people, it is something many times we see so many cases of people who are very highly placed, and there are corruption of crores and crores of rupees. So they are even doing that. So there is no ultimate answer for this. How one can control corruption? Only the bodies who have been given this kind of a charge, they have to perform their duties rightfully. you know so there are ways to control, but it is something not only in your countries or in South African countries, it is very much in India also. And you would see in world, and especially with this COVID, when there are so many people died and so many people lost their jobs, and there are now though no other way but through corruption, in one or the other way people are trying to find something for themselves to survive. It's a survival issue. It's become like that. So this is how it is. Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah, it is okay. It is okay,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Understood.
Stephen,
In Malawi,
Stephen.
corruption
Yeah.
is corruption in Malawi is all because of poverty gap. The rich and the poor. There's a very big gap, and if
Mm,
at all you want to get something, sometimes you need to pay for you need to pay for it to get it, and corruption is rampant just because that gap is making the rich get more richer and the poor get more poorer. Because
mm,
for the rich to get even contracts from the government, they need to use the corrupt means. So for the poor to get the job, it's not easy up until they are supposed to use corrupt means. So that gap,
mm,
as you did put it, that it's a survival issue. I accept that it's really a survival issue because for someone to survive, it needs someone to think deeper. And in the process of thinking deeper, if you want to get something and the hurdles are there and you want to get something, what you do is let me lose 20,000 and get 200,000. So it's a
mm.
survival issue as you are putting it. Thank you.
Yes, it is a sad stage, but all over world this problem is on the rise. Everywhere the government has to take some strict measures to somehow control this corruption, but somehow it is not happening. We only have to see how we can do our duties in a right manner, and if somehow we can make efforts from our sides to you know control this corruption. Yes, Abdul Salam. And
Hello,
yeah,
hello,
yeah,
hello, ma.
yeah, yeah.
Good afternoon, ma. I'm from Nigeria,
Mm,
and I was late. Please, I'm very sorry, ma. I don't know if you are talking about what's the essence of corruption in
mm,
the respective countries. So here in Nigeria, the reason we have corruption, and the reason why corruption is there is that there is issue about economics, because need to be richer. Maybe whether you are poor or uh, you are working under government, so your aims and objective most of those people like politicians, they are also getting corruption, all because they want to be richer more and more. So that's what only I have to say. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Anas?
Good afternoon, ma.
Yeah.
I want to add something on what Abu Salam just said. We in Nigeria, if the leaders and the elders of the community are corrupt, how do you think the poorest are not going to be corrupt? Mostly in politics in Nigeria, if you see the leaders, each and every leader
Mm. Yes.
is
Signal lost.
just trying the younger ones or the poorest.
I think
And ma,
your
think we are going to tackle this
problem. Yeah.
problem.
I couldn't hear your full question, but at the same
Is
time, what I understand from all of you is something with what you know. It's the our politician. It's the way how the things are being moving due to our politician being corrupt. We cannot change the politician, but we can only see how the government comes out with certain laws and strict ways to follow it. This is only that can be done, and we as the people take as our responsibility not to be affected by the corruption of the people of who are the politicians who are on a higher position. It is everywhere in India also. We see that it is becoming in today's scenario. It is there the rich people who are rich are becoming more richer, and the people who are poor are becoming more poor. It is a general phenomena in today's time. We as a human being, as a social work students, we have to understand that what our roles and responsibilities are. We cannot take up the role of the people who are the who are the leaders and whom we know are the corrupt. We still have to believe in a system. We have to believe that we as an individual can change the society. That we there is a saying in Hindi that boond boond se ghada bharta hai. That means that one individual, even if bucket is to be filled, if we have to fill a bucket, it can fill even with one drop water. So if the people who are sitting in this class, if we decided we won't be affected by the corrupt people, and we will try to do our duties. We are doing such a cause where we are working for the human cause, for the well-being of the people living in the society. So for that matter, we are not supposed to be affected by these kind of corrupt leader, but we have to see how we as individuals, like if we are only 20 of us now, how we can bring change in the society, in the system. What changes we can bring at our low, we can get together to bring changes in the system, to see how we can improve the system, how we can try to make the society better with our efforts. This is all what we can do, and we can try to inform the authorities who are on the top, who are the legislatures. We studied about legislators, executives, and judiciary, who are the one who are the people who are making these kind of laws for the corrupt people. And if there is any possibility to see that they can be punished for their wrongful doings, this is what we can try to do. But we cannot bring the complete change, but we can make efforts at our level, whatever we can do. That's all I can say about it. So it is a sad story, but we all are a part of it and we have to do our duties only. Okay. So, anyway, so now I just have to say tomorrow we only have 2 units left with, and I will try to talk about your assignment, what you need to do for your you have to complete your assignment and submit by 31st March. So I will try to take up the assignment part. We will talk about it, and whatever general queries you have, we can take up that tomorrow. So if everything is okay, then we NS
Hello, ma.
yeah.
I want to ask a question. It's not
Yeah.
on our course. The BSW 104. We
Mm-hmm.
have a fieldwork journal,
Yes,
and
yeah.
the lecturer told us that we are going to have a fieldwork uh, fieldwork supervisor, and it will
Mm-hmm.
be sent to us by the school regional center. And up
Mm-hmm.
to now, no one among us discussed with this school, the fieldwork supervisor, and
Okay.
they said
Mm-hmm.
that we are going to at least visit 20 organizations for
Mm-hmm.
20 days. And
Mm-hmm.
now, only I think is at least 21 to 20 days remain for the
No, that
assignment.
is, see, for assignment, it is different. For assignment, 31st March is given for assignment submission. For fieldwork, they have not given you the date. That will be either till 30th April or maybe slightly longer time will be given for that submission. It
Okay,
is not,
thank you.
it is not 31st March. For
Okay,
journal, it
thank you.
is not 30. For journal, it will be 30th April or maybe later. I'm not sure, but it will be like that. Yeah.
Thank you, ma. That's my question.
Yeah. Stephen,
Yes.
Stephen, you have
I
raised your
wanted to
hand.
ask on the very same journal because we were told that letters are going to be sent to us. Up until now, we have not received any letter of introduction that we might be using to go to the NGOs. Because we are waiting for the letters so that we use them to go to the NGOs.
See, actually, on Monday, the director who was there in the meeting on Monday, today he was not there. Generally, he is there on at 3 o'clock. He comes when the meeting start. But today I have not seen him. I will see if he comes tomorrow, or I will request him. If somebody is joining, if they can answer. I saw somebody is joining from the business center, because this is the question that can be answered by the director. He will be able to answer you on these kind of queries about the letters and all related to journal. Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Actually, I was
okay, thank
not there.
you.
I was in another meeting. So
Yes, I
thank
will
you.
answer to
So,
that query. Yeah.
okay, please ask me any question that
It
I
is
can answer.
related to, they have asked for the journal. They are waiting to get a letter to be submitted for the thing.
Hello, good
They are
afternoon, sir.
asking for the letter and when they have to submit the journals, and they are not provided with the supervisor. So these are the 2 3 questions they have asked.
Yes, please. After madam's class, after Dr. Karuna Narang's class, there will be a class by Dr. Lingaswamy. He is a faculty from School of Social Work, and he will be speaking to you about the project. Because that will be, I think, after the class of Dr. Karuna Naran. So he will be telling you about the project in detail. So when you are going to submit the journal, how you will do the project and all that. Okay, so everything will be told to you in detail by Dr. Lingaswamy. So till such time, you are all requested to please wait, because I am also not a faculty member from School of Social Work. So it is better the school faculty will respond to your question. All right.
So
Okay,
maybe
thank you.
like
Thank you,
tomorrow
sir.
is my last
Thank
class.
you.
So maybe the next day you will probably, so Monday maybe the new class will start and you will be
Yes.
able to get the answer of those questions. Okay.
Actually, he will discuss in detail, because that particular slot is specially reserved for project.
Yeah.
So he will be
So they
speaking.
already had one class, na? They already 104. That is a field work, they had a 6 sessions for that class,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
already discussed. So I thought it may have talked about, or I didn't know.
He must have spoken to the students about that, and the remaining part he will be speaking. In case of any difficulty, you can straightway ask him. He is the school faculty, and they have
Yeah,
devised
they
this
will be able
particular
to
course
answer.
also by themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they will be
they will
able
be
to
able.
respond to you.
So, okay, thank you all. We'll meet tomorrow again. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Goodbye.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, no,
Thank you.
So
thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
tomorrow
sir.
you.
sharp at 3 p.m. again join, so that Dr. Karuna Narang will speak to you on this topic.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
Thank
very
you,
you,
much.
sir.
sir.
Thank you. All the best.
Namaste, sir. Namaste, ma'am.
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.